right, so really important to find your way back to the dive boat at the end of the dive. Now remember, we're open water divers. We can always surface anytime during the dive and we should be okay from a decompression, all that kind of standpoint. But underwater swims are much, much easier than surface swims. So let's say we surface way over there where the blue roof is. While it's fine that we're over there where the blue roof is, it's a long, long way to swim on the surface. So it's on the surface, it might seem maybe even impossible to swim that far. Underwater, we might swim 6 times that far and not even concern ourselves with it. So the reason we use a compass is to always find our way back to the dive boat. Now, when I was a new diver, I used to spend the first half of my dive trying not to get lost and the second half of my dive trying to find my way back. So that was like my sole focus of the dive. But that's not what you want to do. You want to go enjoy your dive. So now that I'm a better and a more experienced diver, I set my compass, no matter what the conditions, I always set my compass at the beginning of the dive. And the reason I do that is I don't want to get lost, okay? And all I have to, so let's say, just for a minute, let's say we're swimming to see the big sign that says vapes down there. So if I know I'm going roughly in that direction, now I'm not trying to swim straight to vapes, I'm just going roughly in that general direction. What I'm going to do at the beginning of the dive is I'm going to pick my compass up and I'm going to turn the rotating bezel. Now we're going to show you 2 different ways, but what I'm going to do is there's a rotating bezel on the top of the compass that has numbers on it, and then there's the compass card in the middle of the compass that actually is the compass, okay? So I'm going to point, now there's the official right way to hold a compass, which I don't really do the official right way. The right way is you like put your arm straight out and like line up your eyes and do this. That's the right way. I do this, that's my way, okay? So, or some version of that. Usually it would be a little further down on my arm because my arm I'd have a wetsuit on. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the 180. Either your compass is going to have like 0, 0 or north and north on the inside. Spin the rotating bezel so that the 2 marks line up, the 2 consistent marks. Now what you're doing is you're keeping the compass perpendicular to your body, so directly away. You always keep one end of the lubber line, which is the red line, pointed towards you, and you keep the other end of the lubber line pointed perpendicularly away from you. Now what I'm doing is I am lining my 180 on my compass. I'm lining my 180 and my 180 up. So let me just kind of make sure. So let's see. What I'm wanting you to do is 180. You can even see that number over here. So really what I want you to do is see in there a 270, like right there. So you're going to spin this, and so that the 2 270s are touching.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what you want to do is switch around?
No, I want, basically I want the 2, it could be any of the marks, okay, or the 2 norths or the 2 whatevers. So I want 180 to point towards 180. See those 2?
Yeah.
Yep. Is there a 0 over there? Yeah. Okay, so the 2 zeros line up. It's harder because all the different compasses are slightly different. So really what I'm doing is I'm marking which way north is. The N is where north is. I don't really care north, south, east, and west. North just happens to be something that I know. I know north's over that way based on my compass. So I'm marking somewhere where I know where it is. So now just turn your body, hold your compass up to eye level, turn your body just a little bit off. Okay, that's good right there. Now you'll notice the two marks aren't lined up anymore, right? You follow me? The 2 norths or the 2 whatevers aren't lined up. So you know you're not pointed the same way anymore. So to get back facing the same way, you're going to spin your body until the 2 norths are lined up. Now the way you're turning for a compass is too fast. Your compass can't keep up with that turn. So everything over here, nothing counts until you stop and let the compass kind of level out. Does that make sense? All right, so now that your 2 norths are lined up again, you can see that you're facing exactly the same direction. Now let me show you something on this compass. Okay. So this is my compass, this is my computer. So all right, so point, like center square your body up with the vape sign, okay? Now hold that button down for just a second. It'll say bearing locked, bearing locked. Now it's marked that spot. So you've got kind of brackets around the spot. Turn your body just a tad, and it'll show you you're now 13 degrees off your original heading, and your original heading's over here. So that's easier than this compass, you know what I mean? All right, and it doesn't forget. All right, so now if we want to swim a straight line, what we're going to do is just take a few steps this way. All right, now if you're swimming a straight line, you're going to be watching the compass the entire time, but yeah, sometimes we do swim straight lines. Okay, so your two similar points should be consistently lined up. Now it's time to turn around and go back, right? So what I want you to do is slowly turn your body around until the two opposite points are lined up now. So the south or the north or the 180 or the 260 or whatever. All right, so now you're facing exactly the opposite way, right? So now swim back this way. And you should be about where you started. Now, the reason a compass is so important, it's hard to grasp on land. Now, you know, I'm not great with a land compass. I'm not great without a GPS on land because I can use a GPS. But here, like, let's say I want to drive to Charlotte right now in my car, and I've broken my GPS. I'm probably not going to drive to Charlotte. I've got like 4 GPSs. But in reality, the way I'm going to navigate, and this is called natural navigation, is I'm going to look and say, well, the parking lot goes onto the road over there. I'm going to drive to the road. That's the first start of going to Charlotte. And then the road goes that way, so I'm going to go that way. And I'm going to look and see, well, this is the way it looks like I can go to Charlotte, and I'll start going that way, sort of, okay? That's how land or natural navigation works. But here's the problem with using natural navigation just as your way underwater. Now, the way underwater works, and you probably maybe noticed this, is I can't see to the road underwater. So it's kind of like looking straight down, and all I see is asphalt everywhere. How do I walk to the road when all I see is, am I closer to the road? Well, I don't know. So you're gonna take a compass heading on the road before you ever leave, and that's where it comes into play. But if you don't take a compass heading to begin with, you can't just say, all right, now compass, bring me back. You didn't mark where you were going to begin with. It's not going to bring you back, okay? Now, one of the first skills we're going to do in the water is we're going to swim a triangle while snorkeling on the surface. And we didn't do it in Florida because the water was clear and it kind of doesn't really count. But anyway, all right, so we're going to swim a triangle. Now, a triangle is basically, so let's call this a triangle, right? That's a really weird, okay, let's not call that a triangle. I can't make that look right. Okay, so a triangle is really kind of a circle divided into 3 turns. So we're taking a 360-degree turn and dividing that by 3. So 360 divided by 3 is what? 120. So each of our turns of that triangle need to be 120 degrees if we're going to come back to the same point. Sort of kind of makes sense? Okay. So, well, not a math class, okay? I'm not testing your math skills here. But we're going to try to teach you to swim a triangle. And we did this in the parking lot a bit. So let's say that big brown pole right there, that is your first compass heading. So the way this skill will work is we're going to be standing in waist deep water wherever we do our checkout dives, unless we do it in Florida. And I say, all right, that tree, that sign, that brown thing over there, that's your first compass heading. What I want you to do is swim a triangle. This is all the information I'm giving you. That's your first heading. Swim a triangle, that's your first one. So I want you to actually swim a triangle, all right? So the way I want you to do this skill is pick the compass up. Now we're using a different part of the compass. Pick the compass, look up and look into the window, and what number do you see?
0.
0, okay. So even if it's slightly off of 0, let's call it 0 just for easy math purposes, okay? So your first heading is 0. So whenever you've already done your math, you're going to take however many kicks or steps I tell you. I'm going to tell you to take 10 kicks, okay? So your first heading is 0. What would your next turn be, do you think?
To the right. I go 120.
So you could do 120. You could add or subtract 120. The only difference is whether you're making right turns or left turns, and I don't really care which way you're turning, okay? But, so 120. So what would your next heading be? And then what would your next heading be? Okay? 360 or 0, either one. All right, so let's do that, all right? So line it up, get 0, see 0, keep 0 and the red line together, and take 10 steps this way. All right, now turn slowly to your 120. Now take your 10 steps following that 120. Doing okay? You're working too, so.
Yeah, I'm working too.
This is the first digital compass I've ever liked. Then go ahead and make your turn and take your next 10 steps. Now, because we can't judge distance really well underwater just by swimming, we're going to count our kicks to measure distance. Do you feel like you're roughly at the same start? More or less? And more or less is all that really counts in navigation underwater. I'm not trying to find that exact white rock. I'm trying to find the boat, or the anchor. Really, the anchor is what I'm looking for. And as I'm coming back, now I'm not looking just at my compass coming back. I'm looking for everything as I swim out. So I'm gonna be like, I noticed this line as I went out. I'm gonna be looking for this line on my way back. I remember the line was on my left-hand side going out. I'm gonna make sure it's on my right-hand side coming back. I'm probably, well, I was gonna say I'm gonna notice where the sun's shining down, but that's not gonna help me at all right now. But you're noticing all of the different things. That's all natural navigation to use our compass, okay? Now, let's do on a real dive, we'll probably never swim a triangle. Like, there's no real purpose other than learning compass, okay? Maybe you might swim a box or something. If you're looking for something, you might do a box of 10 kicks and then a box of 15 kicks and a box of 20 to find something that's lost or something. That's kind of an advanced skill. But straight lines are important, and this is what I do every dive. So let's say we're on the back of the dive boat and the dive master or the expert at this dive site says the reef is going that way, or the cool stuff is that way, or the shipwreck, whatever, he says go that way. So what I do at the beginning of my dive is I line my two similar parts up. So once again, we're going that way. So turn your body that way, and then get your two norths pointed together, or your two zeros pointed together, or whatever else. So, yep, that looks right. So now remember, or notice that we're going from using the top of the compass to the window, depending on what we're doing, okay? All right, so now we're on the back of the boat. We do our giant stride in. We agree with our buddy to descend. We orient ourselves to an object at the surface. We go down with our buddy. All right, so now we're on the bottom, okay? There's a chance that you might spin or pivot or just not be pointed in the same direction as we go down. Do you kind of agree with that? Sure. Okay, so he's done some checkout dives and he's done his pool already. So now that we're on the bottom, we're gonna pick our compass up again and make sure we're turned the same way again. Now, we don't touch the rotating bezel again until we're out of the water unless we're doing something advanced, okay? So we make sure we're pointed the same way. Now, we're kind of oriented as to where things are. So now we're gonna start swimming this way, but we're not really looking at our compass anymore, okay? So now we're gonna swim over here, come over here, and we're gonna look at the eel under the piece of coral here, all right? Now, notice we're roughly going in that direction. We're not going exactly in a straight line, but we also know we're kind of like, it's easy enough to roughly go that direction. If for some reason I get turned around, or I'm like, sometimes I doubt myself, like, am I going in the wrong direction? Then I'll glance at my compass, okay? So then we're gonna come over here. And we're gonna check the nurse shark out sleeping under this piece of coral, okay? I have been told that nurse sharks bite more people than any other sharks. I think we've already talked about this, but usually if you're doing a day dive and you see a nurse shark, it's sleeping under a piece of coral. It's not paying you any attention, it's not swimming, it's sleeping under a rock. They bite more people when people try to pet them, touch them, wake them up in the middle of their night, and that's when they get bit. So don't try to pet the sharks and they'll probably be okay. But anyway, all right, now we're gonna swim over here. And we're gonna check out the lobster under this piece of coral. Notice how a lot of stuff hides under rocks and hides under coral and stuff. There's not a lot of stuff out in the daytime just moving around unless you're shallow. Okay, so you're checking the coral out. As I've come out, once again, I've noticed this crack kind of roughly running down through here. I've noticed that the sun's a little bit brighter back that way. I've also noticed that the current is flowing this way. Now, those aren't hard and fast rules because all that could change. Another thing, particularly on ocean dives or anywhere really, is, well, it depends, but sometimes there's kind of a hill going down. The hill can be a good reference. You know, if I swim out and the bank is on my left, it's going to be on my right coming back. That's a good rule. So I've noticed that I'm now 1,500 PSI into my scuba tank. It's about, well, probably 8